Betrayal tastes bitter when it's served by hands once thought loyal. People you trusted, faces you cherished now stand with daggers poised to strike. It wasn't a misstep or an oversight that revealed them. No, something grander pulled the curtain back. The light didn't shine softly on their motives, it burned, scorching away the masks they wore. Their shadows stretched long, but even the darkest corners have their reckoning. When everything crumbles, an alliance forged in lies collapses first. These false bonds were never built to withstand the weight of truth. They crumble like ash in your hands, leaving nothing but remnants of what you thought was real. You stare at the wreckage, not with sorrow, but with an odd sense of clarity. What survives the fire isn't fragile. It is solid, unyielding, and earned. Enemies often carry your name on their lips, speaking it with venom they don't dare show to your face. They play their roles well, hiding their schemes beneath counterfeit smiles. But when the moment comes, their charades falter. Their hands tremble, their eyes betray their intent, and their words reveal the spite they've tried so hard to cloak. No force greater than exposure could break them so thoroughly. Sometimes, silence is louder than any scream. It cuts through their pretenses, leaving them scrambling to fill the void with excuses and justifications. But words falter when the weight of their deeds hangs in the air. The silence grows heavier, pressing down on their chests like the inevitability they've long tried to ignore. And in that silence, you find your power. The loyal are often quiet observers, but when lines are drawn, they step forward, not out of obligation but conviction. Their loyalty is not shouted. It is shown in the smallest gestures, in the moments that truly matter. They are rare, and their rarity makes them priceless. Hold them close, for the shadows grow darker when trust becomes scarce. The sting of betrayal doesn't fade. It etches itself into your mind. But scars are maps, not prisons. They remind you of the pain endured, the lessons learned, and the strength you've gained. Each scar tells a story of survival. Each mark is proof that you faced what others couldn't and stood tall when the world tried to break you. Chaos always favors the cunning. It doesn't destroy indiscriminately. It reveals the opportunists, the manipulators, the ones who thrive in disorder. They show themselves, scrambling to claim the spoils of destruction, but their ambition blinds them to the trap they walk into, one they've set for themselves with their greed and hubris. There's a peculiar satisfaction in watching the unmasking of those who thought themselves untouchable. Their confidence crumbles, their plans unravel. They thrash, attempting to salvage their dignity, but the spotlight burns too brightly. In their desperation, they show their hand, revealing every card they'd hoped to keep hidden. Your steps grow heavier as you walk this path. But the weight is not yours alone. It's the burden of knowing the clarity of sight. Those who once walked beside you now lurk behind shadows in your periphery. But this is not your defeat. It's your awakening. The weight strengthens you, forcing every step forward to matter. You can't strike down what you don't understand. Enemies hidden in plain sight are the most dangerous, slipping through your defenses like whispers on the wind. They wear many faces, some familiar, others unexpected. But when their lies stretch too thin, their shape begins to show. No shadows can conceal what has been brought to light. Their movements become predictable, their whispers hollow, and that, right there, is where their power begins to decay. When clarity strikes, it doesn't arrive as kindness. It pierces like a blade, cold and merciless. Every illusion you clung to shatters. It's not cruelty, it's preparation. Without the sting of betrayal, how would you ever learn to armor your soul? Without the sharpness of the blade, how could you ever wield your own with precision? It's never about tearing you down. It's about sharpening the edges you'll need to wield. Strength grows in the chaos of revelation. Weakness thrives in ignorance, feeding on the bliss of unawareness. But to confront the beast, you must first stare into its eyes. What is revealed isn't the villain. It's the architect of your payoff. Understanding its design is the first step to dismantling it. Power rises when the unknown becomes known. Every battle worth fighting is fought first within the silence of your mind. The questions cut deeper than any enemy's sword. Why? How? Who? The answers are never clean, never comforting, but once they rise, you're no longer the prey. The hunter within awakens, armed not with rage but with cold, calculated purpose. No path is clearer than the one revealed by the light of betrayal. Victory begins when the masks fall. A false friend is worse than an honest enemy, but no mask stays forever. Each crack in their facade is a map to their undoing. Their power is built on deception, and once it fails, so do they. The strong don't need masks. They walk through fire without flinching while others crumble under the heat. The act of revealing isn't kind, it's brutal. It doesn't soothe, it sears. But the fire doesn't consume you, it forges. Each revelation, no matter how painful, strengthens your resolve. It forces you to look at the world without filters, without illusions. And in that harsh clarity, you find the raw materials of your strength. Steel is tempered in flames, and so are you. Every predator underestimates its prey until it's too late. They see vulnerability where resilience lies, silence where strategy brews. But what they can't see, they can't destroy. They strike blindly, their strength dissipating in futile efforts. They become what they feared most, weak, exposed, defenseless. They reveal their intent, but in doing so, they seal their fate. Revelation forces choice. Rise or fall, fight or flee. There's no middle ground. The exposed enemy must face judgment, and so must you. Will you wield the knowledge you've gained, or will it consume you? Strength lies in the ability to act with conviction, not in hesitation or fear. The battlefield is mental before it's physical, and the victor is always decided before the first strike. Betrayal is never the end. It's the beginning of something far greater. It is a moment of reckoning, not ruin. The lies you once believed are gone, but they've left something behind. A clean slate, a sharpened mind, and a will that cannot be broken. This is the rebirth of your power, and it starts in the ashes of your former ignorance. Loyalty is a mask often worn by the treacherous. The one standing closest to you may not be standing with you. Smiles conceal daggers, and kind words drown out whispered schemes. Proximity breeds complacency, but complacency is the softest armor. Those in your circle are not always in your corner, and the sooner you accept that, the sharper your instincts become. The human heart craves connection, but in that craving lies vulnerability. Predators feed on it, wearing the guise of allies while mapping the softest parts of your defenses. They walk beside you, matching your stride, studying your movements. But when the moment comes, their steps falter, revealing a rhythm all their own, a beat of betrayal that's been playing all along. There's no safety in numbers when those numbers are made of. Shadows and crowds offer nothing but illusion, a mirage of strength that crumbles under scrutiny. A single blade, wielded by one you trust, can end everything faster than an army of enemies. To trust blindly is to invite ruin. The battlefield of life demands more than faith. It demands foresight. Recognition of the imposters in your midst is a painful awakening. It stings because it's personal. Betrayal always is. But pain sharpens your mind, forces your eyes open, and strips away the comfort of ignorance. Betrayal isn't an end. It's an unveiling. It pulls back the curtain on those who thrived in the shadow of your trust. To stand alone in the aftermath of deception is not weakness, it is strength. Isolation is clarity, a place where the voices of false allies cannot reach. In that stillness, you begin to see what you couldn't before. The loyal are few, but their presence is undeniable. You find them not in words, but in actions that speak louder than any vow. Enemies outside the gates are expected, but enemies within are lethal. Their access is your vulnerability. Their familiarity is their weapon. They don't strike first. They wait for you to hand them the blade. But when the time comes, Their betrayal is both swift and intimate. It is the knowledge of your weaknesses that makes their attack so precise. The ones who scheme against you often believe they're invincible, that their cunning will keep them hidden forever. But revelation waits for no one. When their plans unravel, it's not you who stands exposed. It's them. Their faces, once confident, twist into fear as the spotlight shifts, leaving nowhere to hide. Survival depends on your ability to sever ties without hesitation. The hand that betrayed you cannot be allowed to linger. Mercy has no place in the face of treachery. Compassion is a weakness they exploited. It must not become your undoing. Power comes not from numbers, but from the ability to act with precision and resolve. The path forward narrows when trust is shattered, but it also becomes clearer. The weight of unnecessary alliances falls away, leaving only what is essential. Strength doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from within. The fewer ties you hold, the lighter your steps and the faster your rise. Not everyone walking beside you is meant to see you succeed. Some follow for their own gain, hoping to leech from your strength. Clarity often arrives like a storm, sudden and devastating. It tears through illusions, leaving no space for comfort or denial. The fog that once veiled your vision was no accident. It was a construct. Its purpose was simple: to keep you blind to the hands that pulled your strings, to shield you from the faces that dimmed your light. But the storm came not as punishment, but as revelation, stripping away every lie that kept you tethered to mediocrity. The ones who dimmed your light knew exactly what they were doing. They operated in silence, extinguishing your fire while pretending to warm themselves by its glow. They whispered doubts into your mind, wrapping their deceit in the guise of concern. Their ambition wasn't to rise with you, it was to ensure you never rose at all. They feared what you could become, and so they worked tirelessly to keep you small. When the fog lifted, it wasn't their actions that surprised you, it was your own willingness to overlook them for so long. You wanted to believe in their loyalty, their love, their intentions. That desire became your weakness, and they exploited it. But now, with nothing obscuring your vision, you see them for what they are: parasites feeding on the energy you poured into them, never intending to give anything back. Light and darkness cannot coexist for long. Those who dimmed your light thrived in the shadows of your uncertainty, knowing that as long as you doubted yourself, you would never surpass them. But the light is a force they cannot contain. The moment it burns brighter, their darkness retreats, exposing them as the small, envious creatures they always were. Your fire terrifies them because it reveals their insignificance. Freedom begins when the fog clears. What was once confusion becomes clarity, and what was once hesitation becomes resolve. The one who dimmed your light can no longer hide behind their pretenses. Their smiles now appear as sneers. Their kind words now echo with malice. They stand exposed, vulnerable, unable to manipulate what you now clearly see. Their power dissolves the moment your vision sharpens. The pain of realization is sharp, but it doesn't linger. It carves away the illusions, leaving behind a purer, stronger version of yourself. The ones who dimmed your light underestimated your resilience. They thought their games would leave you broken, but clarity has the opposite effect. It ignites a fire within you, one that consumes doubt and hesitation, leaving no room for weakness. The fog was never permanent. It was a test. It was meant to teach you not only who they are, but who you are. You've seen the faces of betrayal, but you've also seen the strength that awakened within you. The ones who dimmed your light weren't your enemies, they were your lessons. Each one was a step toward understanding your own power. They were never obstacles, they were fuel. What lies ahead is no longer obscured. The path is illuminated, and the distractions have been removed. Every step forward is a declaration of your strength, a rejection of their control. They can no longer dim your light, because they can no longer reach it. You've risen beyond their grasp, and the brightness they feared is now the force they cannot ignore. Chaos often serves as a disguise, a symphony of noise that drowns out the whispers of betrayal. Your enemies didn't hide in shadows. They danced in the spotlight, their actions bold and unashamed. But noise has a way of deceiving, masking intentions with its ceaseless hum. They relied on your distractions, on the clutter in your mind, to keep you blind to their schemes. It was never their subtlety that concealed them. It was the storm they created to keep you too overwhelmed to notice. Silence, when it comes, is more terrifying than the noise. It forces you to face what the chaos hid. The moment the divine hand quieted your world, the echoes of their malice became deafening. They weren't whispering behind closed doors. They were shouting in plain sight, and you were too consumed by the storm to hear. In that stillness, their treachery became undeniable, clear as a scream in an empty room. The loudest enemies are often the most dangerous, not because of their volume, but because of your reluctance to recognize them. Their actions spoke louder than words. Their betrayals were etched into every move they made, but you excused them, rationalized them, carried them beneath the weight of your own kindness. The silence stripped away those excuses, leaving their intentions bare, their motives unmasked. Divine silence is not absence. It is intervention. It forces the noise to stop, the distractions to fade. It creates a void where the truth becomes unavoidable. In that void, their laughter becomes cruel, their praise turns hollow, and their alliances unravel. What once seemed harmless now reeks of manipulation. The silence didn't create their betrayal, it only amplified it. When the noise fades, you are left with clarity, a sharpness that pierces through the illusions. Their loudness was not a mark of strength but of desperation. The louder they shouted, the more they revealed their insecurities. They needed the noise to keep you from seeing their fragility, but the silence exposed them, forcing their masks to slip, their confidence to shatter. Their loudness was their arrogance, their belief that you'd never hear them for what they truly were. They mistook your tolerance for ignorance, your patience for weakness. But silence taught you how to listen, not with your ears, but with your instincts. It sharpened your senses, allowing you to hear what their words tried to conceal, and in that hearing, their defeat began. Enemies who thrive on noise fear silence more than anything. It turns their strength into vulnerability, their bravado into bluster. Without the chaos to shield them, they are left naked before you, every flaw, every weakness, every betrayal laid bare. They relied on your distractions, but silence made you focused, unyielding, untouchable. Silence is a weapon as much as it is a gift. It is the scalpel that cuts through deception, the mirror that forces them to face their own reflection. They cannot escape the echoes of their betrayal reverberating louder in the stillness. And you, no longer blinded by the noise, hold the power they sought to take from you. You've become what they feared. Aware, their downfall isn't just in what the silence revealed, it's in how it changed you. Before, their noise dictated your thoughts, clouded your instincts, and dulled your edge. Now you move with a clarity they never anticipated. Every word they speak rings hollow. Every gesture reeks of manipulation. They try to spin their lies, but the stillness has sharpened your mind to catch every inconsistency, every weakness. You don't just see them for what they are. You see their end before they can even comprehend it. It gave you the strength to sever ties without hesitation, to remove the weight of false alliances that once anchored you. Their loudness was a distraction, a desperate bid to keep you blind. But now, every step you take echoes louder than their screams ever could. The silence revealed their futility, their fragility, and your own untouchable strength. Their bravado, once so bold, now sounds desperate. Each boast and laugh they once used to command attention crumbles under the weight of their exposure. They never expected the quiet to strip them bare. They thought the clamor they created would drown out suspicion. But silence holds no sympathy for pretenders. It reveals every crack, every flaw, leaving them fumbling to conceal what can no longer be hidden. Their loudness was a weapon, but silence disarmed them. In stillness, you no longer reacted to their noise. You observed it for what it was, a hollow attempt at control. Now they stand on shaky ground, their power diminished, not by your hand, but by their own miscalculated arrogance. You don't need to strike them down. The silence has already done that for you, leaving them exposed and powerless. It wasn't the chaos that revealed their nature. It was its absence. And in that absence, God exposed your true enemies.